And I take pictures of airplanes. One of my favorite things to do as an amateur photographer is night photography. It's a challenging thing to do, and I believe it can make you a better photographer in the long run in terms of getting better with settings and using your camera. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take good-looking pictures of moving airplanes at night. Now, I'm using airplanes for this video as a demonstration, but this can apply to almost anything, not just airplanes. To demonstrate this, went out to Chicago's O'Hare Airport, take some pictures of the departures late at night. Now, it wasn't that late. At the time I did this, it was late November and sun sets at 5 p.m., so it was really like 6 or 7, not late night. So for this video, I did all my shooting on a Nikon D7200 Sigma 150 to 500 f5.6 to 6.3. Ideally, you would use something faster in this situation. I'll explain why later, but the results from this lens are decent for what it is. Before we get started shooting, let's get into all the gear you might need or want to shoot in low light. The first thing you are going to need is a camera with decent low light performance and good autofocus. This is because low light situations might trip up an autofocus system, especially in an older DSLR like I'm using. Another thing that is nice to have is a continuous shooting mode, especially with a lower shutter speed, since you might end up with some pictures that are duds. Another thing you'd want to have is a lens with a max focal length of at least 300 millimeters, but you might be able to get away with 200 millimeters depending on how close you are and how big the planes are. The final thing that might be useful is a tripod, but I don't really like using those for panning as they can be clunky at times. The final thing to keep in mind is that if you are not using a tripod to pan, make sure you rotate yourself along the waist and not your feet. Rotating yourself along the feet adds a lot of extra movement, which will mess up your images, especially at a lower shutter speed, like we're using. For shooting moving subjects, I like to shoot in shutter priority mode. This allows me to directly set my shutter speed to allow for the sharpest images depending on lighting conditions. For these pictures, I tried to aim for a shutter speed of around 1/20th of a second. Now, this might seem a little low, but remember, you need to set a shutter speed to get the whole fuselage of the airplane sharp. Ideally, you'll set your shutter speed to as low as you can to get the entire plane sharp, so you can run as low of an ISO as possible. In the example images, I was shooting at roughly ISO 6000 and I was using auto ISO. You want to use an ISO that matches your shutter speed, which is why I used auto ISO. Lastly, for aperture, you want to shoot as wide open as you can go to let as much light onto that sensor as you possibly can. I'm not a big editor, if I'm gonna be honest, so I just like to shoot JPEG and call it a day. Unfortunately, you can't really do this with night photography in this situation, as many images may not turn out to be good looking in these lighting conditions. This is why for specific applications, such as this, you should be shooting in RAW to give you that editing flexibility. For editing, you should start with brightening the image, if you need to. Then try and denoise the image as best as you can. Once this is done, you can start by playing around with the colors, white balance, exposure, and anything else you might want to play with. I'm not going to do any editing in this tutorial, as there are plenty of tutorials that will teach you how to edit in your editing software of choice. In summary, taking pictures and moving things at night might be a bit challenging, but I hope these steps can help get you there. If the results don't live up to your expectations at first, keep trying and you'll eventually get the results you want. Maybe play around with different settings, use different lenses. Just keep trying and improving on what you've already learned. Keep figuring out what works, what doesn't, and move on from there. Finally, remember that the best pictures you take for the night are the ones you are the most happy with. Whether it's a cool airplane or just a cool shot, just be happy with what you take.